Let it be known, today's topic is about poo. It is your body, and therefore it is your responsibility as well. So, why talk about poo? Why is this even a conversation? Well, poo is your body getting rid of waste. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Quality of Life Quest. My name is Anneke. Today's topic is poo. Now, I don't know what the title of this podcast is going to be, because as soon as I said what the topic was, people started laughing and all sorts of ideas came up. The front runners currently are The Scoop on Poop. And the other one, if you are of a sensitive nature, you may want to cover your ears for a moment. The other option is, here it comes, The Shit Show. As I said, at this moment in time, I've got no idea which one it's going to be, but let it be known, today's topic is about poo. So we're going to explore why it is important to understand what's normal for you and what's normal in general, and why poo is a key part of good health, as it's an indication of a key part to good health. And also, there were some giggles already, so why is this such a taboo? I have no idea. I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands, it's not so much a taboo. In Great Britain, very much so. It's a bodily function. It happens to everyone. So when I came to Great Britain, and I have told it before, and it is definitely part of this story. I came here in 1999, and after 7 weeks, I was hospitalized with a burst appendix, for which they left me for 3 days before operating. Anyway, that's a different part of the story. This part of the story is when they actually had done the operation, and I was recovering. A doctor came to my bedside. First, he explained what they had done. The appendix was indeed burst, but the appendix had been so long, they'd never seen anything like it. So it started growing as where it should normally start growing, and then it grew all the way to the other side of my abdomen. So it became kind of balanced. The pain became balanced. Again, different issue. But on its way to get from one side of my abdomen to the other side, it had wrapped itself around all sorts of other bits in my belly. And it had been quite an operation to get it all functioning again. So they had been messing around with my guts. So he explained that, and then came the question, and he was squirming in his seat, and he asked if I had a bowel movement. Now, do keep in mind, I spoke English. My English was quite all right, but it was very much the English you learn at school and at university. At school it's kind of general, and at university it's topic specific. And poo was no part of that. Yeah, of course my bowels were moving. I had just had quite an operation, and they had moved my bowels around. So my bowels were moving all the time. I could feel them moving in my belly. So I said, yes, my bowels, they move all the time. They keep on moving. And it wasn't the answer he was looking for. So he was squirming again, and he tried to say it a bit louder. That didn't help. To try to enunciate better, that didn't help either, because he got the same response. Yes, my bowels are moving. If I had been clear in my thinking, and I was just out of the operation, and they gave me lots of quite heavy medication, so I wasn't all quite there. Otherwise I may have noticed the grammatical inconsistency between the question and the answer. He then proceeded to ask if I had had a stool. Now, stool, the word stool, if you write it out, is the same word in Dutch for chair. And again, I was messed up. So that did not make sense. That did not land. Why is he asking about a chair? And of course, a chair is a chair and a stool is something different. But there was no connection to me. I did not understand. And he finally asked if I'd done a poo, to which the answer was no. And his squirming was finally over. He got an answer to this very stretched out sequence of questions that he found very difficult to talk about. And when he'd gone, I was in a bay with several other ladies. And when I was gone, the ladies, they listened in because, it was entertaining to them and they were laughing already. And I was quite indignant. I said, why didn't he just say shit? Everyone knows the word shit. And they were besides themselves. They couldn't help but laugh. And I was still indignant. And they explained to me that the word shit is not to be used lightly in Great Britain. Apparently, you're not supposed to use it at all. But I said, but he was trying to communicate with me, and everyone all over the world knows the word shit. And they know what it means. And in the Netherlands, we also use it. We know it's a foreign word, but we use it when things go wrong. It's often used to express your annoyance with the situation. Anyway, at the time, I was very annoyed with the doctor not using words that I understood just because he was uncomfortable. It's like, get on with it. Anyway, it is still a taboo, and I don't really understand it because my cultural background is different. But whenever I'm in hospital and ask patients about their poo, some people take it into their strides and quite a lot of people start giggling and they just kind of are uncomfortable with answering the questions. It is, however, a very important part of you as a human being and an indication of how things are with your overall health and well-being. So, why talk about poo? Why is this even a conversation? Well, poo is your body getting rid of waste. There are various ways your body can get rid of waste. By breathing, it's getting rid of gases. Urinating is liquids. Sweating, you can sweat out substances. And poo is the solid bits that don't go anywhere else. So your body getting rid of that waste and what it looks like, what the consistency is, what it smells like, it's all part of an indication of how well your body is doing. You are feeding your body and the microbiome that's sitting in your gut. It's often referred to as your second brain. Again, a whole different podcast. But feeding your body and that microbiome, the poo, the waste, is one way to see how you're doing with that. If you understand what's normal for you and what's normal in general, you might see the discrepancy as an early indication of, oh, maybe I could do better, or maybe something is off once you've tried doing better and it's still off. It is your body and therefore it is your responsibility as well. So quite often when people go to a doctor, they kind of put the responsibility for their body in the doctor's hands. But doctors can only respond, or healthcare providers, they can only respond to the information you hand over. That determines what they can do. It's kind of rubbish in, rubbish out. If you feed your healthcare provider rubbish information, then they can't help but, come to a not complete conclusion, let's put it that way. And it will take a lot of their interviewing skills to tease out bits, and it makes the conversation much longer than it needs to be. Whilst if you can go in and you have your facts and figures right and they're there and you can provide them with, okay, this is going on with my poo and I've tried this, that and the other and still it's not what I would like it to be. That's a whole different level of conversation. Your body, your responsibility, And only in very extreme cases do you hand over the responsibility for your body to someone else. And that's really, really extreme. For the rest, you know your body best, and taking notes of your poo, if only in your head. Better to write it down, but if only in your head, that's a good way of taking responsibility. Right, so what is normal when we're talking about poo? So one of the questions I ask patients on a daily basis when I work for the NHS is, did you open your bowels today? And if I get a blank stare, then I will rephrase it. But that's the official line, so I'll start with the official line. I will get to the answer though, remembering my own state of being when that question was posed to me. The hospital really wants to know about someone's poo. And most people answer with either yes or no. But when it's yes, and I ask, what does it look like? They will say normal. What they mean is normal to them. That does not mean it's normal. It might mean normal. I don't know. How do we know? How do we classify it? How do we clarify it? Well, there's a Bristol Stool Chart. By all means, look it up online and you will see a list with pictures and with descriptions. And the Bristol Stool Chart goes from 1, which is hard lumps, hard as nuts, to number 7, which is entirely liquid. The aim is number 4. The aim is number 4, which is smooth like a snake and easy to pass. No cracks on the surface, just smooth. That is the aim. So I remember one of my patients, she needed the commode. Now, for foreigners who don't know the word commode is a chair with a hole in the seat, and underneath that hole is a bucket-like contraption. We call them liners, but something to catch poo and wee. And once the patient has been and done the business, there's a lid that goes over it, and then you can take it away. So this one particular lady, she needed the commode, and she was on the commode for a very, very long time, at least 45 minutes. That is a long time to be on the toilet. And I hadn't seen the poo yet because, she wiped herself and there was paper there. But when I came to the dirty utility room, the room where we get rid of all those things, there's no toilet, but there's a stainless steel funnel. It's a big funnel. It's wider than a toilet and round. And then it goes to a bend and you can flush it. And, it works like a toilet, but it's a stainless steel funnel. And when I came to turn the liner of the commode upside down over this funnel, it went ping, 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 ping. Her poo had the size of hazelnuts in their shell, and it had the consistency of hazelnuts in their shell. They were so hard, they made that sound in a stainless steel funnel. And when I went back to that particular lady and asked if that was normal, she said, yeah, that's what it's always like. It's not normal, please. It's not normal. That is the extreme end of the Bristol Stool Chart. That is a number 1, hard as nuts. And it was interesting to see that early on in me working for the NHS, that people actually produce hard as nuts stools. The other side of the stool chart is entirely liquid. Again, that's not good. As I said, normal is 4. That's what you're aiming for. Now, why is this consistency so important? There are so many things that can be wrong with something. So I can't say for sure, oh, this is wrong or that is wrong. But if the stool is very hard, most likely it has been in your digestive system for way too long. And then the body starts to extract more of the water out of the stool. And it could mean that you're dehydrated. That could be one of the things. It could also be that you don't eat enough fibers. Or that there's something else wrong entirely. If your stool is entirely liquid, that's not good. You're losing too much water through your stool. It's not meant to be like that. And there could be, again, all sorts of things wrong. And one of them could be a bug going around. When we've got diarrhea going around the ward, it's a reason for people to be in a side room to isolate them so that other people don't catch it, because the people who are staying with us are ill already. They don't need anything extra to make them even worse. To understand the link between your poo, nutrition and microbiome, as food goes in, something happens inside, the body makes hair grow, your skin, your lungs, your nails, all the body parts are made out of whatever it is you eat. So it extracts all the building blocks for your body. And then what's left over, that's going to waste, and that's coming out at the other end. And poo can give an indication how well your body is doing in the department of extracting the nutrients and then creating your body parts. Of course, you could wait for those body parts to go wrong, but that takes a bit longer. Your poo could be one of the early indications that something is not quite right. The journey of your food through your body, and again, that can be explained in more detail in a different podcast, but you eat it, you chew it, hopefully, you swallow it, it goes down and then comes into your stomach, and then it goes to the small intestines, which is the place where most of the nutrients are being extracted. That's also where most of the microbiomes live, the bugs that help you digest your food. And then it goes to the large intestines, and by then it is mostly waste, water, and whatever byproducts of the gut bacteria. So the final product, your poo, can give some clues about how well you're feeding yourself and your microbiome, and or how well your body is able to cope with the food you eat. Again, this can be expanded in so many ways. I have done a podcast already about starting to eat after a bout of vomiting and diarrhea, where you start very slowly with integrating food, different foods into your diet. You start with maybe juices because they've got most of the nutrients, admittedly no fibers, but at least your body will be able to absorb the nutrients that are there without having to go through the rigmarole of digesting the fibers, which might be too much for you at that moment in time. And then slowly some yogurt, some natural yogurt, and then maybe some smoothies to start incorporating fibers. And then bit by bit going further to more difficult to digest food. If you think about a salad, a raw salad, that's hard to digest. If you are on a carnivore diet, start with broths and then bit by bit introduce easily digestible meat or eggs, and then work your way up to the more difficult digestible meats. So if your starting point is, I'm okay, I'm not ill, you need to know what your normal now is. You need to know what the normal in the Bristol Stool Chart is, and then try to work towards the number 4 on the Bristol Stool Chart. If you're healthy and your poo is slightly off that chart and you're trying to readjust that, because again, poo can be an early indicator of things going wrong because it is relatively quick. The transit time from eating something to it coming out the other end, you can measure it by eating some corn, the yellow kernels that grow on a cob, different words in different languages. If you eat that and you don't chew it well enough, it comes out whole at the other end. It does not get digested by your system. So if you eat that, you can see how long it takes for it to come out. You can also use beetroot as an indication how many days it takes or how many hours, what is normal for you. So if you keep that in mind, so the reports on that are varied. Some people say, oh, it's within a day that it comes out. I think the general gist is a couple of days. When you look at scientific reports, they say up to 3 days for food to transition from eating it to coming out. That doesn't mean you only go to the toilet once every 3 days. That's the lag. So you eat today, it comes out in 3 days, and you ate tomorrow, and so on. There's a time lapse there. But if you know that and say it is 3 days, I don't care, and something starts going off, even though you feel okay, it can have an effect on your health in the long term, because the nutrition's being taken out. It takes a while to create skin. It takes a while to create a lung or to replace the bits of the lung. It takes a while to create a liver. And even though it's a constant process, for it to become a problem takes a longer time on the whole. So yes, when you look at your poo and you use it as an early indicator, even if you're healthy right now and it's not around about the number 4 on the Bristol Stool Chart, see if you can improve on that. You may have noticed I've been talking about fibers because fibers are the things that are left over. Fibers are the things that are the main consistency of poo. That's the main ingredient of poo is fibers. What if you're on a carnivore diet? And I've been told, I don't know, because I'm not on a carnivore diet. I eat both meat and vegetables. And for me, carnivore diet is currently not the right thing. I say currently because people change over time and my body might change that carnivore does become the best for me for a period of time. I've no idea. But it's reported that people on a carnivore diet suffer a bit more from constipation or from harder poo. If that's the case and you want to change that, you may want to incorporate some plants into your diet. Maybe, I don't know, you have transitioned too quickly to a complete carnivore diet because the microbiome in your gut, it adapts itself to what you eat to a certain degree. So there are things in your gut that can deal with meat. And maybe that part of the population hasn't had sufficient time to grow with the amount you've been eating, if that makes sense. So, for example, if you've been eating a mixed diet, plants and meat, and from one day to the next you only eat meat, part of your gut is missing the plants, and there aren't enough microbiomes inside you to deal with all the meat you're eating. So if you transition a bit slower, then your gut has time to adjust itself. I do not know how far that adjustment goes. I do know there are people who really, really thrive on a carnivore diet and, more power to them. And there are people who thrive on a plant diet. Good for them. For me personally, it's mixed. Right, so we've talked about why this is a conversation, and that's because it's your responsibility. You want the best for your body because health is such a big part of your quality of life. When you lose your health, your quality of life goes down dramatically. And with patients in hospital, I see it so often that all of a sudden something is wrong with them and they then realize what they've lost. Just personal experience. As long as I'm healthy, a lot of other things become a problem. But I don't think about my health. I don't think about it because it's just there. But just there, there's an end to that. You really, really, really have to look after your body in order to keep that health and to keep your quality of life, so you can actually focus on other things in your life to improve those. But health is basic. You either make time for your health, otherwise you will have to make time for illness. I don't know who said it, but it is very, very true. Of course, stuff happens, and not all health-related problems derive from food. Yet food is a really, really important part of your health. It's the building blocks of your body. And those building blocks need to be there. They need to be readily available in your diet. Then you need to be able to digest them so that the building blocks individually become available for your body to turn into, the wholeness that is your body. And then, then there's the leftovers. If you eat the same diet over and over again, and your body is doing fine, and your poo is 4 on the scale, and nothing else changes, and all of a sudden your poo is different, something has changed. Whether that's an infection, I don't know. I don't know, but it is clear that something is off. And you can try to adjust things yourself. Once you've tried that and it doesn't work, go and see a healthcare provider, because something is off and you want to prevent things going wrong long term. And some things are easy to spot, like diarrhea. But if you don't know that, anything different from your norm is a reason to look into it. If you go to modern healthcare, you've got dentists. They look at your teeth. It's the first stage of digestion. If your teeth are wrong, there's something, that's a major part of your digestive system that goes wrong. But it takes a specialist, a dentist. And then there's the nose, ear and throat specialist. They do this part, the upper part of your throat, important in digestion. Then you've got the people who look at your whole intestines. But even then, there are people who specialize a bit more in the stomach or a bit more in the large colon. They're all specializing in a little bit different. And now I'm talking about poo, but it is linked to all of it. It's linked to the quality of the food. It's linked to how much you eat. It is linked to the nutritional value of the food. So even if you eat, let's say, carrots, not all carrots are made equally, and some carry more nutrition in them than others. It's such a huge, huge topic. And I think I'll be waiting for the comments and the questions of the comments to see which are the parts that you are interested in, but also where I could do better. So I would say expect a follow-up on this particular podcast, where I will dig deeper into certain aspects of this all. Fiber and water are really important. So fiber is the main component of what comes out at the other end. If you've got a problem with what's coming out at the other end because it's too hard, add more fiber to your diet. If it's too hard, also increase water. And when it's watery, when it's liquid, when it's number 7, also increase water intake, because you will be losing too much water. So how well is your body functioning? If you know for sure that you take enough nutrition in, yet when you look at your poo, you think, I'm not sure. I don't think my body is taking out the nutrition out of the food, then take that as a warning sign and look into it. How do you know if your body is functioning well? Are you healthy? Are you vibrant? Are you energetic? Do you have zest for life? What's the state of your skin? Are you glowing? Do you have aches and pains? Are you inflamed? A lot of those things can be readjusted with food. Some people say that you can heal with food. It is true, though, that what you eat has an effect on your body. But once you know that you're doing everything within your power to get it right, and it still isn't right, go and see a healthcare provider, because there are, as I said, the road from putting something in your mouth and it coming out the other end is very long. It goes through various stages, and something can go wrong in each and every stage. Know your body. It's your body. You have been living with it for a long time. You know it best. And the better informed you are before you see a healthcare provider, the easier the conversation is going to be and the better the diagnosis can be. So make sure you're well armed. Poo is a big part of your quality of life. The lady who was sitting on the commode for 45 minutes, that's not what you want. Well, it might be your peace and quiet for the day. I don't know. But, if that's not healthy, it's not healthy to be sitting on the toilet for 45 minutes. And hopefully going to the toilet is something you do on a daily basis. It's easy to keep track of. Make notes. Keep a diary of what you eat. Try different things and see what the effect is. Your life, your body, your quality of life. Look after it. This is Anneke from the Quality of Life podcast. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again, see you. Bye.